other first words you say when talking to somebody. I've got my cool guy glasses, my cool guy hat, and I'm here on Talking with Famous People right now, live, just so that you can experience my coolness. How cool is that? But to be honest, the foregoing was a lie. It's not just so you can experience my coolness. It's also so I can ask the critical question, where are the aliens? I've been waiting and waiting and waiting for them to make first contact, land a giant hexagonal ship on the grass of the White House lawn. Come out waving, saying, or they say it in some alien sounding language, but it gets translated by a loudspeaker on their ship. Hello, America. We agree. You have the best country. That's what I anticipate when the aliens finally do get around to coming here. So, I was just looking up this proposed development near Mid-Pines, which is, if you go out Scott Road, you hit Jerseyville Road. If you continue out Jerseyville Road, you hit Triangle Road. If you go right on Triangle Road all the way to the highway, that's Mid-Pines. And there's this proposed development of supposedly a resort on 90 acres. It's really two proposed developments in two different locations. One of them's on the south side of 140. That's way over there. Won't really impact us, except maybe making traffic on Highway 140 a little bit more busy. But it's the same company developing both of them. Terramore is the name of the company. And one of them is going to be a KOA, Campgrounds of America. It's basically for glamping. It's people who have RVs. And they bought, I think it's 90 acres between the highway and Triangle Ranch. Probably doesn't reach all the way to Triangle Ranch. It seems to me, it sounds like it's more long than it is wide, because their goal is to establish a trail from their KOA in Mid-Pines all the way into the actual park, Yosemite Park, so that their glampers can hike in or ride horses or ride bicycles in from the KOA into Yosemite. Well, around here, when we're driving around Triangle Road, especially over there on that side of Triangle Road, there are signs up that say, a resort has no place in the community. But as I was reading about it today, it's just a fucking KOA. It's going to be at the corner of Triangle on the highway, so it's basically going to be right on the highway. It's 90 acres, which isn't that much, really, you know. And it comprises 400 RV hookup sites and 50 tent sites. You know, if they end up going ahead with the project, it's okay. It'll make it a little more trafficy over there coming into Triangle Road from that side, but whatevs, you know. They're putting in a resort on the local signs opposing it, right? I was envisioning some massive development that was going to impact my way of life around here. Fortunately, no. It's not that close to us, and it's not that big, and it's just an RV campground. Plus, it's looking like if the project is going to go through, they're going to have to make a deal with Mariposa County Board of Supervisors to offer conservation for the remaining parts of the land that remain undeveloped, which is always good if you lock in green space as undevelopable forevermore. The whole conservation area between Triangle Road and when housing starts back here is the McCready Ranch Conservation Area, and it's a large amount of green space that's not national forest, which is Mariposa County, but that is undevelopable. So if this adds additional conservation in Mariposa County, I think it's probably not a terrible idea. Now, of course, I don't live right next door to it, but it sounds like the sort of development that could actually maybe be approved in Mariposa County. Remember, Mariposa County, it doesn't have a single stoplight. It has one temporary one as they're doing repairs on the bridge at Darrow Road. In the whole county, not one stoplight. So the fact is, Mariposa County Board of Supervisors is very opposed to Mariposa changing its character. In other words, nobody wants Mariposa to be developed like Mammoth or any of the other boutique-y Sierra Nevada places. Mariposa County has a lot of people with ranches, you know, who grow cows and shit. So it's that vibe, you know. Of course, it's quite conservative up here, and I'm fine with that. But why in the world do people who support sensible values like liberty, autonomy, individuality, capitalism also support Trump? That guy is a filthy disgrace on America. This goes to show you the state of things in this country, where the best the left can do is Biden and the best the right can do is Trump. Ay, ay, ay. I guess that's slightly better than Hillary and Trump. Even with dementia, Biden's better than Hillary Clinton. Hello, beautiful. So, I've got some exciting news I want to share with the people. Rachel already knows it's exciting news. But we officially signed up to participate in the Mariposa Pines, second annual Mariposa Pines Community Yard Sale. That's right. In fact, I think what I may do during this live stream today is bring down some things from the attic and classify them as saleable or trash. That would be exciting for us, for everyone. Okay, now what I'm doing, the reason I took this off for a second is because I was about to go do something specific. What was it? Now I don't remember. Well, I know what I was going to do. Can you hold this for a second?
Sure.
You can explain to them what I'm doing and the mistake that I made.
Oh, I see who the mistake is. Yes. Eric has to turn his pants around because he has them on backwards.
And it'll be fine, except I try to put my hands in my pockets and they're not in the right
Oh. The pockets aren't in the right place, so
place.
that's
Turn them around.
yeah.
There. That's about art. Now I can actually put things in my pockets. Okay, let me pull up the chat on the televisor. That's Mexican for television. And that will empower me to better read all the thrilling commentary that is erupting in the chat right now. But it is true, Ludafe, that YouTube will only send out a certain number of notifications in a day. And I might have exhausted mine with my video upload, short upload, and earlier live stream. No, your commentary was thrilling. I was so thrilled by it that it incapacitated me such that I couldn't comment on how thrilling it was. Rachel and I tried to go play Sexy Times by the Shed in the woods today. It lasted about 30 seconds, and I was like, there are too many bugs out here. Let's go in the house. So anyway, where are the aliens? I am counting on them to arrive and explain to everybody that Eric was right the whole time. Because people don't believe me when I tell them I'm right. But if aliens came and told everybody, I mean, who would doubt? You wouldn't jump out the gate thinking aliens are liars, right? After all, they clearly have superior technology because they were able to get all the way here from their planet. And you wouldn't imagine that one builds a superior civilization on a foundation of lies. I don't think so. So generally, well, we have to operate under the assumption that the aliens, when they do arrive, are not going to be liars, number one. Number two, that they're going to be cued into what the most important things the world needs to know are. And that therefore, number three, they will inform the world that all the world should encourage America and that America should vote for Eric as president. And that, in fact, one of the biggest problems plaguing the world today is that too few people watch Talking with Famous People. I'm hoping they open with that, actually, the aliens, when they emerge from their ship. They emerge angry, with scolding fingers wagging, and they say, what is up with this planet? Almost none of you are watching host Eric on Talking with Famous People. It's like all we watch on Centurion 5. That's the planet where they come from. Centurion 5.
Did you get fan mail from there?
Well, no, but the reason I'm thinking is not because they're not sending it. It's because it's got to travel like 6,000 light years, so it'll get here like a couple million years after I'm dead. But, I'll still read it from heaven. They don't use faster than light technology when transporting mail. The aliens don't. Only when transporting themselves. I mean, they have faster than light mail service, but the fans who are mailing me are all using media mail.
They're all using media mail.
So it's super slow.
Oh no.
Yeah. They're trying to send it from one planet to another planet thousands of light years away via UPS ground. Actually, I did find a very reliable test for NI polar, and it it is as follows. If you tell somebody a long sentence with redundancies and unnecessary details, swaddling the core meaning of the sentence, NI polar can't reduce that long, complex sentence down into its core message. So, for example, if I gave you a sentence that says, if you enjoy being outdoors and having a good time doing outdoor activities, and you currently live in the city or another metropolitan area or even maybe the suburbs or exurbs, perhaps you should consider selling that home and you could enter a real estate market that will offer you good price per home in most urban areas and purchasing a home out in the wilderness where you will be able to be closer to nature and you'll be able to do more outdoor activities because you're living right there. You give somebody some terrible long sentence like that and say, what's collapse it down into its nutshell. The nutshell is if you like the woods, sell your city house and move there.
There you go.
So the thing is, not everybody will be quite equally compact in their summation of it, but NI-polar can't sum it up at all. They'll try to include like a reference to every comma out phrase or clause or whatever. And the reason is, of course, because they're SI tool. They remember what you said, more or less. And, finally, one of the aliens is here. It's Alien 60.
Oh, sweet.
I mean, yes, you're an alien, but let's not fool ourselves. You have like 0 followers on Alien YouTube, so I was hoping for a little bit more of a famous alien. Because I'm trying to get the aliens to tell the world that they need to watch Talking with Famous People. Because the world doesn't listen to me. But if aliens come down in a spaceship and land on the lawn of the White House and say, Earth, why aren't you watching more Talking with Famous People? It's the 60th alien? Well, okay. Yes, you do have more than 0 followers technically on Alien YouTube, but one of them is your mom, and the other is your clorthox, which is like the equivalent to your childhood best friend in Earthspeak. So, those don't really count, okay? So SI tool users, are they unconsciously making NI conclusions all the time? They must be, right? Well, they're unconsciously assuming that meanings aren't determinate, even though they're reliant upon the determinateness of meanings. I should pay you. I'm going to pay you in social capital. You gain 5 star points. No, they're not making NI. I mean, the thing is, SI users use NI to know things only when things have gone catastrophically bad or they're completely baffled by something. And the NI they use to know things is always hilariously wrong. So the thing is, it's like they're always using their experience to know consciously, but I don't know how to express their relationship with NI as an analog to my relationship with FI, which is what I was trying to think of right there. I don't know how to express it that way, but even though they're reliant on the determinateness of meanings, they expect others to not demand meanings to mean things to them. So when I used to argue with my ex-wife Candace, who was an ESFJ, and I didn't know anything about cognitive functions at the time, I could not understand why we could never resolve anything. It's like it would just go around in a circle over and over and over again. And I'd say, look, I'm trying to talk to you about this. And meow, 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 meow. And she'd say, well, this related but irrelevant thing. And it just drove me crazy. There was no actual resolution on a meaning level of anything. It was frustrating as hell. In contrast, Rachel and I always resolve every meaning. And that can be bad if you both are overwrought about meanings that don't link very well to reality. So, like, there are certain wrong words that either of us could say that would haunt each other for the rest of our lives, even though they have nothing to do with anything having to do with us together. Like, you know, just expressing certain truths that the expression of which wouldn't comprise a good relationship strategy, would comprise an expressly bad one. Those things can roll off the back of people who don't have in the first slot. You know, an INFP or an INFP will go, well, that's just one possibility. Even though they got any second, you know. NI second, they're much more like NI first. I mean, NI second is much more like NI first and NE second than NE second is like NI first and NE first. So anyway, I'm doing a terrible job of explaining right now. It's nice to see you too, Alien 60. I'm always just taken by the eye candy of your shiny green reptilian skin. I'm talking about Candace, when we go round and around and around in a circle, you know. But the point is that like, it's impossible for me to conceive of it ever being a good idea to stay with someone who's cheated on you. Because the heavy, horrible meanings that all trickle down from that act never go away or can possibly be resolved to anyone's satisfaction. But there are people for whom infidelity doesn't turn out to be a relationship destroyer because they see the physicality of it as a one-time deal or whatever, or not mean anything because the guy didn't feel anything for that woman, he just banged her, right? And then the fact that what it means is stuff like she's not good enough for him or doesn't satisfy him adequately, that he feels the need to go fuck other girls or something like that. All of those kinds of meanings just get lost in the wash because they don't value meanings as an absolute value. And so maybe it is a case for such people that it's better to overlook that one time you cheated on me because we got a great relationship. We love each other, baby. I mean, I can't conceive of that, right? But that's because I'm super dragged down by meanings that are true. I can't avoid the meanings of true horrible things. Yeah, I think the camera was turned this way a little bit more so you couldn't see her for a while. And I turned it more this way so you could. Um, Tornadoes down in Texas tonight. Well, Texas is a pretty big place, and tornadoes are comparatively small weather events. Unless it hits Dallas or Houston or San Antonio, it's probably just going to hit empty land and just the only thing it's going to damage is tumbleweeds. Tumbleweeds and Texas toast.
Mm.
I want to understand ARG. I'm going to upload the transcript to this and upload it to ChatGPT and have it organize it into a chart. Oh, I didn't know ChatGPT did that. The thing is, to the extent that you're feeling like I'm not quite grasping what NI polar is like, that's to be expected because you're SI polar. You know, TI polar, I understand intellectually just fine, but it's about as alien a paradigm through which to march, through which to live as I can possibly conceptualize at all, you know? So I get what it means to be TI polar in terms of its deficit, but I don't get what it means to be TI polar in terms of its advantages. I can conceptually explain what those advantages ought to be, but I don't grok with it at all. So for you, Ruben, the thing is, you can easily enough understand all the disadvantages of NI polar, but you can't understand the advantages of it.
Oh, me.
You can understand the disadvantages of FE polar, but you can't understand the advantages of it.
Yeah.
I don't want to theme the whole stream about aliens because, well, I could. I'll do this. I'll tell you what. We'll frame it up like this. All cognitive functions here discussed today are discussed in relation to an alien species. Now, because the species of sentience is attentional configuration, we can conclude that aliens with equivalent intelligence to us have the same 8 cognitive functions available to them. Thus, whenever I talk about cognitive functions, I'm talking about alien cognitive functions that are necessarily the same as humans because that's how we define sentience.
Mm.
A tornado? Oh my God. Tornado is a great name for a movie.
It is.
It's like, it's a story of a guy who starts out being kind of a chick shy dweeb, but becomes a viral sensation with a very Rick Astley-esque soulful song, even though he's a dorky guy, right? And from that moment on, he's fighting off hoary horrors from every direction, trying to find a decent girl to have his first sexual experience with. It's called Hornado, and it's a coming of age story. And in the end of the film, he's about to just say, "Fuck it, I just bought one of these whores." And then the sweet girl that he's been too shy to ask out comes and rescues him and says, "You don't want to bang that filthy whore? All right, come on, you can hold my hand." And the movie ends with them walking into the sunset holding hands. It's a story of innocence.
Oh, I never would have thought of the title.
I know it's a title that surprises you by not really producing what you expect from it. Just as the fantastic Netflix show Queen's Gambit
Yes.
continually surprised the fuck out of me
Me too.
by throwing out all these red herrings that they're not coarsely rendered red herrings. They're done subtly so that the most intuitive people are going to read them correctly and be fooled every time.
Every time I thought the only thing that I got correct was that when she got her period, because I would
That
just
never even occurred to me.
that literally, but that makes sense, right? Because like I lived that,
because you're a girl.
and I'm
Yeah.
a girl, and that's what.
You've had to get up all of a sudden because of your
Yes.
period.
Uh-huh.
I just thought, oh, she something about that guy's move surprised her. She's got to go think about it in the bathroom.
And it could very well could have.
But no. Instead, blood was gushing out of her vagina down her legs.
Yeah.
And it was the first time she ever had her period. And it struck during a chess tournament. Talk about bad timing.
Yeah.
Now, Keisha, if you're serious about wanting to be invited to the wedding, you need to email us. So I have your email.
Hey, Keisha. Yeah, like if you really do want to come to the wedding, please send us your email.
And I'll again state the general rule here. If you'd like to come to our wedding, email me. And I will either approve it if I know you well, or I will ask to have a video conference with you to vet you. And then if you're cool, I'll invite you. So that goes out to all the pimps and pimpettes out there in Talking with Famous People Town. Except Steve Johnson. Steve Johnson, you are not allowed to come to my wedding. Hello, Steve Johnson. So I got a lot of cleaning up around here done last night, organizing the garage. We have so much storage space in the garage, it's crazy. And Rachel and I drove down to the shed today and looked in there. A lot of cool stuff in the shed. There's a pretty rad woodworking table. The aliens are coming. They're here, I guess. You guess. The arrival and presence of aliens is too important a matter to leave up to guesswork, sir. Pablo Rosales. We need more than your guessing about it. I need confirmation, empirics. I want to talk to the aliens themselves. I want to do a press conference, me standing between two of the most important aliens, and them saying, this is the guy you should listen to, both of them pointing to me. That's my plan for when the aliens arrive. Yeah. Flornack says Eric is right. They kind of have a bit of a Stephen Hawking's accent. They're not going to fake an invasion. They're just going to come down and give us wisdom and guidance. Wisdom and guidance for the whole world. And they know that it's going to take too long for them to explain all the wisdoms and guidance to everybody. So they're going to instead find the person whose wisdoms and guidances are most correct in the entire world and tell the earth to listen to that guy. Ergo, me. But until they do, I continue to languish here in obscurity. All right, don't get me wrong. I think all 13 of you are fantastic. You're the 13 smartest people in the world. But until I have somebody who really has the whole world's attention vouching for me publicly as their core message, I think I'm going to continue to fly well below my ceiling. Now, if the aliens won't do it, then I'm fine if all the world leaders get together and say, we've reached an international consensus, every single nation on earth is signed on, everyone should listen to Talking with Fence People. That'd be cool too. If Elon Musk can shoot a car into space, surely he can write Talking with Famous People on the moon in very big letters. What would be the required font size? It would be like font size 1,000,000. That's how big the letters would have to be. No, we don't need more Erics talking. We need more people listening to one Eric talking. And that Eric is me. You should also listen to Rachel, but she doesn't talk nearly as much as I do.
Yeah. But still, you should listen to me when I do talk.
Yeah. She's almost certainly right about things. There was something I was wrong about earlier and you were right about, as usual. What was it? When Rachel does correct me or disagree with me, she's right 95% of the time.
I try not to be a know-it-all or correct you, because who likes that person?
You do. You're marrying him.
Yes, I am.
But the truth is, I don't think I technically qualify as a know-it-all. I think I qualify more as the gauge of all knowing, which is a little bit different. Because I don't know everything. I just know what I know about everything and what things are important to know about. That's very different. The problem other people seem to have is they don't know what they know and what they don't know. So you got people talking out of their ass about every single subject imaginable except sports. People can't really get away with talking out of their ass about sports.
No,
But anything political, philosophical, artistic, anything that people view as opinion or interpretation, even in the slightest, you will find the least knowledgeable people talking about the subject as though they were the most knowledgeable. Sports stink? Mr. Butler, I'm sorry, my sports don't stink.
nah, sports don't stink.
No. I'll tell you what stinks. People who don't know anything thinking they know things. They stink! Well, the thing is, Dunning-Kruger suggests that we are all that way with stuff that we don't know. But what I'm saying is, not true. That knowing what you know and don't know is a discrete skill that some very few people have and that almost nobody else does. Oh, well, for the antipolar test, all you need to do is generate a bunch of long-winded sentences, long-winded and redundant sentences, and try to add one fresh detail in each of the redundancies. Because that's bait. Antipolar people will think because there's a unique detail in there, they need to include something from that parenthetical, you know? But certain details that may be a new idea expressed in that long sentence ought to be excised because they lack sufficient relevance to make it into the summary. Well, knowing what you don't know, how does one determine that? TI and a knowledge function. I'm not sure if it's just TI and a knowledge function. I know that for me, it's been, and it's my ninja way. It's become my ninja way, but it wasn't always. There was a time when I was much more concerned about appearing smart when I was younger, you know? But that gave way to always saying, I don't know about that when I don't know about something, and then tell me about it so I can learn about it. And I've operated thusly for decades now. So when you operate like that as an MO, then you're keeping a constant track. Eventually you start to taxonomy all discursive possibilities that link to universalities anyway. So like, you go, okay, well, these are the possible positions on politics that get expressed. These are all variations of this kind of thing. And pretty much you catalog slash curate all of human knowledge eventually. Obviously, to catalog, curate that scope of things, you have to be only dealing with the top level frame shit mostly. And stuff underneath that merely serves to exemplify or demonstrate the what you're explaining, that what you're explaining at the frame level in fact trickles down, and here you see its manifestation down here, you know. No one ever thinks they are being fooled. Well, I mean, if they're being fooled, obviously they're not thinking I'm being fooled, because then they wouldn't be being fooled. They'd not be being fooled about whether or not they're being fooled. Let's see here. Don't cast pearls unto swine. I believe the saying is pearls before swine. Which is what you say when you're bombing on stage and you don't want to blame yourself. You say pearls before swine. It's because you people aren't good, smart enough to get how great I am. That's what pearls before swine means. If you're the one saying your pearls aren't being appreciated. That's strange. I published the street address where the aliens are, and it never appeared. It probably wasn't even censored by the aliens. I'm sure it was censored by YouTube. Because, I don't know if you guys heard, but this May, they hastily, last minute, declared it Stop Asian Pacific Islander Alien hate month. They added aliens in with the Agents of Pacific Islanders for some reason. I figured, well, we already got 2 groups in there already. Let's add a third and call it company. And then somebody in the back row said, shouldn't we call that a crowd? Well, they're worried about hate speech. You know.
Oh, they're worried about hate speech?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something to be worried about.
There's been some slurs that have started up, like "ailey," like those damn aliens. You probably heard that recently, or greenskins.
Do you think that they're ever worried about being canceled?
Well, you mean people who use alien hate speech?
No, aliens.
Oh, aliens. No, because obviously they're the victims of hate speech. But I'm also not worried about the alien hate speakers being canceled because we're not mature enough as a species yet. So, in other words, hate speech towards aliens is normalized in the status quo. And we've got a lot of learning to do. I heard on a video before that in ontology, there's 2 main distinctions, objects and concepts, and I was wondering if it correlates to sensing and intuition. Well, that video is not laying out ontology right for you. A concept is an object just as much as a physical object is an object. The distinction between things is between static things and dynamic things. Processes of attention, for example, are ways of being through time, and not objects, except insofar as we render them static and make them objects of analysis. What if all the aliens are invisible? Okay, if all the aliens are invisible, then presumably they're very smelly and noisy, because being invisible suggests that no things on that planet have eyes, so there's no reason for anything to evolve visibility. Therefore, they must make themselves known to their fellows by being noisy and smelly.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah, amazing reasoning there. That was just brilliant reasoning, wasn't it?
Yes.
Not really. It was, you could say, catastrophically fallacious. Catastrophically fallacious. And what'd you think of my argument? What'd you think of that, mister? Catastrophically fallacious. I didn't knock the fellatio to cats. That's not what I said. How can a concept be an object? Well, because we should determine what qualifies as an object based on its whether it's a static thing or a dynamic thing. Like, if you're thinking about, say, modeling something, you've got a field upon which things happen. You've got objects on the field that don't have agency, that don't do anything, but to which things can be done. And then you've got objects on the field that have agency. Obviously, agents are physical objects, human beings are, but our agency itself is not an object except insofar as we define it statically so as to render it into an object of analysis. So, take something like a distinct event in time versus a distinct object in space. Distinct events in time, are distinct purely because we've defined them as such. In other words, the distinction is in how we've framed out that period of time for our own purposes. Other than that, the event has no inherent distinction from the flow of other things happening, right? It's just notable as a distinct, memorable event because we've reduced it to its meanings. In contrast, a distinct object in space has physicality. We don't need to know anything about it for it to impact us. So I can be looking behind me as I'm walking, have no observational awareness of the rocks in front of me, and run into it, and it's still going to impact me. In contrast, I can't experience a distinct event without having awareness of it. In fact, the distinction of the event is a product of my awareness and attention. So, when we recognize that distinct events are objects of analysis, when we name them and give them an identity, then we start to get an idea of how identity works, right? By using static language to name things and afford things identities, we're able to render everything, including our experiential processes, into objects of analysis, and therefore communicate meaningfully with each other about what it means to be human, for example. But just because we cannot engage intellectually with experience without taking all the authenticity out of the experience, making it into a static word set, and treating it as an object instead of a dynamic process, half of our being is nevertheless made up of those kind of dynamic experiential processes that cannot be meaningfully reduced into meanings because they're not meanings, they're experiences. We can relate to others the experience we had by rendering it into a distinct event in time, an object that we can then reference to other people because it's static. And that's the key definitional distinction between processes and objects. Is the former is dynamic, and when we render it static for analysis purposes, we're always somewhat grasping to meaningfully inform about those dynamic processes because we can only use static materials to do so. And then there was a second half to that sentence that now I've lost my train of thought. But hopefully, like all my thoughts, because it does make a lot of sense. And now it's time to cosplay Magical Girl. Like most Japanese people, I like to dress up as a magical girl periodically and go to a convention center with a bunch of other crazy otakus. Oh wait, that's my daughter. Actually, it's not me. I actually don't like to dress up as anything. I don't like cosplay. It's just like, you gotta be kidding me, right? Let's dress up in costumes and play what? Like, play pretend or something? I like to make hilarious jokes and videos and things, but just play around. You're not even making any media. Why?
Why?
Can you hold this, please?
Sure.
Oops, sorry, kitty. I didn't mean to step on your face.
Hi, Alien60. Hi, Mac Daddy. Hey, Dallas. Hey, Karma's Pimp. Hey, Ludafe.
There's something else I was going to go get. Yeah, and the other thing you could say, which essentially correlates at one with the two things, is universalist and particularist. So static stuff is universalist, dynamic stuff is particularist. TE, but that can be a little bit, I guess, risky to use that dichotomy, because the different functions have different degrees of particularistness based on what kind of function they are. So interface functions are the things that handshake between universalist and particularist things. And so those ones, like TE is the most universalist of the particularist functions, and FE is the most particularist of the universalist functions because they're interface functions. And the most universalist function is NI because it's a knowledge function, and knowledge functions skew universalist. So SI is more universalist than TE, even though they're both particularist functions, because it's a knowledge function. And even though your memory is unreliable, it still is instantaneously known and almost always factually correct if you're not trying to remember something complicated.
Daddy?
TI and FI are the only two functions that are truly and purely universalist and particularist, respectively. TI is entirely universalist. FI is entirely particularist. And then you get to your NE, SE. Well, they're both action functions. So because they're not ways of deciding or knowing, it's kind of misleading to call them particularist or universalist, objective or subjective. It's just that because extroverted intuition is the action function of communication, and communication is linked to universalist stuff because it's static, naturally NE plays out as much more universalist than SE. And that's a bunch of information for you. Let me scroll up a little bit with my scrolling finger. Mac Daddy, are we going to play Touch Eric's Potato? You know, it's a dangerous game, Bobby. Dangerous game. If you touch my potatoes, I might just say, hey, I don't want this potato anymore. Make me a new one. What's useful about calling them action functions? Well, because both extroverted intuition and extroverted sensing are ways of taking action. So discursively, I just gave the answer to your question. I took action. I resolved a pending question. But that's not impactful in a concrete sense in the physical world at all. It's the other kind of action. It's the kind of action that's taking action on the metaphysical field where people understand things or don't. And so its impacts are much more difficult to empirically calculate. The impacts of the action I take are impacts on what you think about later, maybe, or something. You know, it's not something that I can establish, like demoing a building. I can establish that I had an impact because yesterday there was a building there and now it's not there anymore because I knocked it over. So it's very easy to show the impact of concretized actions. And one way to think about the two action functions is one of them proposes actions, one of them concretizes them. That would be reductive to say that any merely proposes actions, of course, because what any mostly does in my hands is it encourages people to draw certain conclusions, or it affirms certain understandings of things, conclusions, as true, or it negates falsehoods as false. In other words, I'm not asking you to do things, I'm asking you to decide on statuses. That's NETI. Oh, you mean my new channel intro? Thanks. Thanks, Karma's Pimp. Appreciate that. And thank you, Ruben R. Treasure this information, harvest its organs. And I personally was rather fond of the mailbox mud fixing video entitled When Mailmen Get You in Trouble. I watched it when I was done making, it's like, the thing is, when I make those things, I make them in Windows Movie Maker, and it's a bit of a laborious process. And by the time I'm done making the video, I've watched each of the component clips many times, and then I watch the whole thing together at the end once. So usually by the time I publish those things, I'm already dissatisfied with the slow parts. But I was quite fond of that one. I think the editing, speeding up the sections where I'm doing stuff, putting a little bits of music in there, and enough, stuff changes often enough, things happen often enough in it that, and the fact that I'm actually doing something, or completing a project, I guess, that video worked, I think, quite well and better than most of my edited videos like that. Oh, well, thanks, Mr. Bobby. Well, remember, you're not a new person who's never heard of Talking with Famous People before and arriving at the people who aren't subscribed to me page. Thanks, Ruben. Thanks. And I'm assuming that's also how you turn on the lights when you get home. You flip the switch twice to make sure they're extra on. That's what wondered if it'd have impact on new people. Oh, yeah, it's supposed to be just for unsubscribed people and people who don't know about the channel, to give them a quick overview of what the channel is, and to mention that I do those typing sessions, because if they got here and they're new, they probably got here via Typology. How old are you last as well? Says L.I. last. I don't know how old Winston's mom is, but I know how old I am. 52 years young. 52 years adorable. I still have my baby fat, so.
You do.
And, in terms of physical development, I'm basically still a tween. I haven't really reached puberty yet, not fully. But I'm hopeful I'll reach it before we get married, because wedding night, I'm thinking by then, my body should be ready to have intercourse. I've read about it. I've heard people talk about it before. Um, you know, I don't quite get the concept. It's just like in, out, in, out, in, out. But hopefully my body will take over when the time is right.
Yeah.
People find baby fat so cute that they are actually using genetic engineering to add more baby fat to the parents that want it. Adding baby fat to the parents won't be cute. You gotta add it to the baby. You talking about this sparkle or Jung's sparkle? Because I think my sparkle sparkles at an order of brightness 3 times greater than the sparkle of Jung's eyes. Jungian eye sparkle is a great way to compliment somebody. Say, oh my gosh, you've got the most dramatic Jungian eye sparkle I have seen in a long time. He died young, huh? Mitch Hedberg. Did he die of a broken heart? Because they ran out of Oreos? I bet if Mitch Hedberg could choose how he died, he would choose my way. That he died out of a broken heart because they ran out of Oreos. Instead, I bet it's something much more depressing. Okay. Now, things are very strange right now because I know I had my cigarettes and now I do not. I took them out of my pocket. When I went to change my pants around. I took them out of my pocket and I went to change my pants around and I left them right there. Because I went over there so that you wouldn't have to see me changing my pants around. So really, it's your fault that I left my cigarettes in a bad place. When the cigarettes complained about being left in a bad place, I said, hey, you just told me I couldn't touch you in a bad place. I left you in a bad place. That's different. And the cigarettes go, you gotta inform me of this shit ahead of time if you expect me to be accountable to upholding your expectations, you know? Anyway, they're still a little pouty about it, but they're getting over it. They weren't there for very long. Yes. Yes. When the neighbor says no, no, I like to say yes, yes. Because I'm the Yoko Ono of neighbors. I've always been baffled by John Lennon's horrible taste in art. The story of him meeting Yoko Ono. He was at some art gallery. She had a piece there. Maybe all of the stuff there was hers. I don't know. But she had at least one piece there. And it was a ladder. And at the top of the ladder was a magnifying glass. And he climbed up the ladder. And he looked through the magnifying glass. And underneath it was the word yes. What are you trying to accomplish with that work of art. Getting people to climb up a ladder? It just sounds like a liability risk to me. And then John Lennon's like, you know, if I had gone up there and seen the word no, it would have been different. It's not a very good John Lennon accent, but you get what I'm saying. John Lennon, don't tell me you were bamboozled by that conceptual garbage. Ugh. Climb up a ladder to see the word yes. Why? Because that's art. Is it? Yes. It's very cutting edge. People have been climbing up ladders for a long time, lady. But have they climbed up them to look through a magnifying glass for the word yes? Well, no, because that's dumb. That's what makes it art. No, that's what makes it dumb. Just because you put some random shit in an art gallery, you go, therefore it's art. Well, look, I'm not going to say you're definitionally excluded from art because your horrible idea is bad. But I will say this. There's art, and then there's art. That's the ladder. So take that, Yoko Ono, and this one too. I showed Yoko Ono, huh? She's still alive, you know. Yeah, she runs an avocado-themed boutique called Okie Dokie in a small town in New York. Now, I've gotten her confused with somebody else. Actually, what Yoko Ono does now is she has a small landscaping business. Basically, she mows people's lawns for money. People say, Yoko Ono, don't you have plenty of money? And she said, I did, but I spent it all on ladders and magnifying glasses. Got every word I could think of under a magnifying glass at the top of a ladder at my house. Unfortunately, I started spending all my time climbing up the ladders too, you know. And pretty soon the money was all gone. On ladder repairs, on health bills for climbing injuries, on replacement lenses for old and damaged magnifying glasses. For little pieces of paper, I write words on them. But I think ultimately, the problem boils down to this. I couldn't help but lose all my money because with my house filled with ladders, I was unable to avoid walking under many, many ladders a day, and thereby incurring a grand total of 7,000 years of bad luck. If you break a mirror at 7, supposedly, if you walk under a ladder, it's only a day. That's how many ladders she had in her house and how much walking under of ladders she did. She walked under enough ladders such that at one day per walk under, she accumulated 7,000 years of bad luck. Fortunately, I think the bad luck ends on Tuesday. So the 7,000 years went by pretty quickly. She may have gotten a reduced sentence for good behavior. I know that the courts said she is no longer allowed to possess ladders, magnifying glasses, but she is still allowed to possess little pieces of paper. We'll see if she abuses that privilege or not. And apparently she wrote a blues album while in jail. First song on it is I Got the No Ladder Blues. Second song is Dear God, Give Me Back My Ladder. The third song is God, I used to be married to John Lennon. Now I'm just like, what am I supposed to do? Except ladders. The fourth one is called Prison Violence, an American Disgrace. It's one of our more serious tracks. The fifth one is called I Thought I Loved Dudes Till I Went to Women's Prison. Because in the course of the album, she reveals that she discovered she's a lesbian in prison. She also, ironically and interestingly, joined the Aryan Nation prison gang, even though she's Japanese. And came out of prison with a passionate hatred for Puerto Ricans that she didn't enter into prison with. So, I don't know. She says it wasn't a bad experience, that she learned a lot, and she came out a better woman, a stronger woman. You know, somebody from Wikipedia should watch these streams and add all the details to these people's pages, because a lot of this history is lost, you know. I'm the only one who still knows it. CJ O'Connell! Look at you! Your hair! 100! That's like the very best number. That would be a fun project. I'm sure it's one I'll never do, but to write down all the history lessons that I've given here off the fly into a history book called Host Eric's Guide to the Real History of the World. Yes. Well, it is, if it has a percent after it. I would point out though, CJ, your 100 doesn't have a percent after it. Therefore, it could be 100 out of a billion. And we don't know if, since it doesn't have a percent, it must have some units, but the units aren't named. It could be 100 cases of cat AIDS. So in that case, you'd wish the number were smaller. Or it could be 100 grains of rice to feed the nation, in which case you wish the number were larger. Well, without a percentage, not much we can say definitively about that 100. Oh, look, it's just Davis. That's not Sasquatch. He's here, he's queer, he doesn't want any more bears. And in that regard, he and I have a commonality. We're both here, queer, and don't want any more bears. The percent is implied. Likely story. Percentages being implied. You can't imply a percentage. The absence of the percentage implies the absence of the percentage. In fact, it doesn't just imply it. It conveys it directly. Absence of percentage doesn't mean percentage of absence. It means that number is missing a unit. I sunburn super easy, so that might be a horrible idea. Okay, well, I'll tell you what sounded like a really good idea, Just Davis, is that you should go on Naked and Afraid. Rachel and I sat down by the shed for like 1 minute earlier, and they were like, let's go back inside, there's too many bugs. So anyway, I'll submit your application for you, Jess Davis, for Naked and Afraid. I don't think the opposite of afraid is confident. I think the opposite of afraid is bored. I prefer swaddled and bored. On the show Swaddled and Bored, what you do is you get carried on an extraction carry to a swaddling blanket. They swaddle you up and they leave you in a room with just LPGA golf on TV. And see how long it takes you to tap out. Half Dressed and Meh. Half Dressed and Meh is a is a good show title. Or Pajamas and Meh. Pajamas and Meh sounds like a good show. It's like they just take people, put them in some pajamas, and put them in a very meh place, like the DMV or, a bus station. Hoster Kitty may knock over that car. Well, I mean, if I'm worried about this can being knocked over, then I should worry about either Rachel or me knocking it over, because both she and I knock things over on this thing way more often than either of the cats ever do. And this one's almost empty anyway. I'll cash it. The other day, I knocked over a whole full cup of iced tea with ice in it. It went all over here, all down here. And I said, oh. See, here's our problem that we face. These bongs are fantastic, but they don't stand up very well.
No.
Unless you got them in the cup holders, which they conveniently fit into. Now, that's great. Except our cup holders are occupied by the bongs. Ideally, can we go apathetic instead of enthused? Encumbered and apathetic. It's like, you gotta carry this backpack over there to that picnic bench and stand there for 15 minutes. Everyone just looks like this the whole show. Who's up for some lukewarm water? I could be on a show called Bong Rips in the Same Clothes You've Been Wearing for a Week.
Oh my god, that'd be great.
I could do that. I could just pull bong rips and not change clothes for a week easily enough.
I could be on a show, clean up your room day one.
I'm hopeful, I'm guessing, clean up your room day one, no actual cleaning should get accomplished.
No, it really does. It goes hardcore, and then the next day, it's like stuff is all over the place already.
So the first day, you do 80% of the cleaning, only to realize you've put everything in the wrong place.
Oh my god, don't.
And the artist formerly known as Eric is now just like Prince. I'm Host Eric. That's how I'm like Prince. I've changed my name from Eric to Host Eric, not from Prince to unpronounceable symbol. Hey everyone, stop touching my potato. I plan to eat that soon. I'm gonna cut it open and put sour cream, and I don't want to think about your thumb. So if I say I'm 100% sure about what I'm talking about, it would mean I'm 100% Eric sure about it, which gives more meaning of certainty, honestly, and I think he agrees with it too. If you're 100 Eric% sure, 100 Eric sure about it. Oh, I see. You're saying I'm the unit of measurement? 100 Erics? Is it 100 copies of me? Or just me and 100 people imitating me? Either way is fine.
Either way, it's fine.
Yeah, if 100 people are imitating me, then finally people are starting to get the message.
Yeah.
It goes to watch and imitate me.
That's easier.
I'll tell them what the correct positions are, then they'll know that, and they don't have to say incorrect things again. I'm ENTP, but I'm INFP below the belt.
Yeah.
My penis has a lot of emotions.
Mm-hmm.
It's very richly informed about its subjective epistemologies. They don't make any sense, of course, but my penis is committed to them. Now, I'm not saying INFPs don't make any sense. I'm saying subjective justifications don't make any sense. Choose sex with Jane Fonda or Jonathan Haidt. Well, it would have to be rape because I'm not going to choose sex with either of them. If I had to choose who to be raped by, Jonathan Haidt, I guess? I don't know. He's more well endowed for the purpose of that job, I guess. Jane Fonda, I just think, because I don't have, my penis doesn't have to become aroused to have sex with Jonathan Haidt. But it does have sex with Jane Fonda. And I don't think that's possible with Jane Fonda.
Do you think she's a lesbian or she's just very masculine?
I just think she's a horrible cunt.
Oh, yeah, she is that. Yo, she definitely could still get it, but there's something about her that seems tightly wound.
Yeah. It's like her vagina probably smells like totally unwarranted self-righteous indignation.
Well, I mean, just look at the show that she was in. That horrible.
She went to Vietnam to side with the communists.
What?
Yeah, that's why they call her G.I. Jane.
Was she trying to be like contrarian?
No, I'm sorry, Hanoi Jane. Well, she's an idiot, right? So she opposed the Vietnam War, and as you see happening all the time, therefore I support the Viet Cong.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's why they called her Hanoi Jane. Because that fucking traitorous bitch, during the Vietnam War, went and sided with the Viet Cong. And made like press releases supporting them and stuff.
Oh my god, that's like so not patriotic.
Yeah, well, it's traitorous. It's treason is what it is. She could, and one could argue should, have been put to death for it, for fuck's sake. You would genuinely bang Sally Field and enjoy it. Would you make her dress up as Gidget?
Or the blind nun.
So anyway, I don't want any piece of any nearness to Hanoi Jane. Moron. Morons who, like, she's an idiot who's famous, so she thinks she needs to spout off about politics, even though she's couldn't be any wronger about them.
So, what was that show that she was in on Netflix with Lily Tomlin?
On Golden Pond.
Like basically what?
I don't know what the show was on Netflix.
Basically,
She was on a show on Netflix? She's
Yeah.
she's still working these days?
she was. The show ended.
What do you see as the problem with socionics? Well, I see the fact that the basic problem is they don't know how to make a model. They don't know the distinction between a model and a taxonomy, and they don't know whether dichotomies are taxonomical or structural. So it's like you got all these, like, say, talk about like the Renan dichotomies. Well, how do those dichotomies link to the function? Do they link in terms of likely occurrence of affect? Do they link in terms of attention? They can have excised noise away from it so that you can basically reduce it to a skill of some sort. They don't know they don't draw any distinctions between the kinds of things they're doing, so they can't possibly make a good model. They don't seem to understand that a good model of a dynamic process such as human being via attention is going to have a clearly defined field, different kinds of objects on that field, and some of those objects are going to have agency. And if they were going to model it correctly, they'd have to have correctly drawn the conclusion that there are really four fields upon which attention plays out. Internal, metaphysical, internal, physical, external, metaphysical, like this, and external, physical, like this. So, until you have the right frame to begin with, in other words, there's no possible way you're going to build a car correctly if you have no idea how to build an engine correctly. If you think you're building a car without getting the fact that to build a car needs to have some kind of engine that propels it forward, well, that's socionics in a nutshell. They're building car theater. It's not a real car, right? It looks kind of like a car. It sounds like kind of like a car, but it's just a cardboard box with a speaker of a car engine inside it, playing inside of it. Like most things we try to explain in the world, human being has a correct explanation in which, when you understand it, all the confusions fall away, and you understand why those confusions occurred as well, right? And all other explanations are incorrect, and generally in the following way. They're looking at one piece of this picture and trying to totalize some element in that as a projection of their own frame bias. So once we accept that people pay attention on four different fields, inside their head, their body, words outside of them, and physicalities outside of them, then we can talk about, well, what kinds of attention are paid on what kinds of fields. So external fields obviously you attentionally engage with extroverted functions. If I'm ideating about something, even if it's in my head, I'm attending to an object external. So that object might be a question in the chat, for example. If I weren't speaking out loud, I'd still be directing my attention to an external field in some sense, because that's where all communication occurs. You can talk to yourself all you want, but you're not communicating. You're just talking to yourself. So even if I'm doing it in my head, I'm just practicing to say it out loud. Regardless, it is the case that extrovert intuition, in the most literal deconstruction of it, occurs on the external metaphysical field and on the internal metaphysical field. Extroverted sensing occurs on the external physical field, and potentially on the internal physical field. So I could kick myself, right? Extroverted thinking is a handshake between the external physical field and the external metaphysical field. So, in other words, I can write a recipe for how to do something. That's me converting TE physicalities into TE metaphysicalities. Similarly, with FE, I can convert other people's subjectivities into static communicable universalities. But FE is going to occur on primarily the external physical field and the internal metaphysical field. FI occurs on the internal metaphysical field and on the internal physical field. Primarily the internal physical field. TI, internal metaphysical field, external metaphysical field. NI, external physical field, external metaphysical field. Because even though the knowing occurs within you, it's always about things outside of you. SI occurs internal metaphysical, external metaphysical, because it links with SE. I mean with NE. I don't know. This is the first time I've ever thought to break everything down like that, or this is the first time I've ever attempted to break it down like that. But there's a correct articulation of which attentional manners engage on which fields and to what extent and how. So, like, I can remember conversations I had before. It means I was attending to the external metaphysical field. I can't really remember doing things at all very well because I'm an NE dom and my SE is super unconscious. At the same time, I have a constantly recording SI kind of knowing such that, like, I'll remember where exactly we were on a road the last time we heard this song. Remember the last time we heard this? We were right turning into the market. And then we pulled into the parking spot and then we waited for the song to finish. Remember? You know, like, totally boring, pointless, particularist storytelling. Anyway, a lot of good info in this. I'm not sure I'd take that breakdown of what attentional manner goes on what field to the bank yet, because I haven't vetted it out in my head very well. But call it speculative at the moment. Or maybe undergoing validity testing still. Because it occurs to me that there may be instances where the attentional manners rarely occur on one field where they're not native to, but I haven't thought it through enough. I get tired of thinking about stuff like that sometimes. I don't know what's going on. I go into about why people don't trust MBTI. It's basically because the test is marketed as a quiz. Well, good for you, Jess Davis. Good for you. It's good to have people on their Typology Mormon mission.
Yeah.
That's what we should do with Typology. We should all dress up in suits and ties and ride bicycles to people's houses and say, "Have you heard the good news? Typology can explain you, me, everyone." I think Bruce Willis has dementia now. I believe.
Really?
Well, let's Google it. What's wrong with Bruce Willis? Let's Google that question. I remember when he came out as like an atheist, and I remember when he was talking about how, oh, actually, there is no God. It was like he was revolutionizing the world by proposing that we should consider atheism. You were a little late to that party, Bruce Willis. Anyway, yeah, it says Bruce Willis' type of dementia, one of several forms that can strike.
Wow.
Frontal temporal dementia. Well, everyone is different. The average life expectancy of a patient diagnosed with frontotemporal dementia is 9 years from the first symptom, but 5 years from the first diagnosis.
Oh my God.
It's less common than Alzheimer's disease, and there haven't been any treatments that have been shown to be beneficial.
Wow. Oh my God. That's so tragic.
Yeah. Well, he had a good 50 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who mentioned Gallo? Why do people talk about that guy so much? Or just around here, or is that a disease inflicting other communities? I didn't mention him. Who mentioned him?
Well,
Maybe they were talking about the wine.
What's up? What is up with Jamie Foxx? I heard something is up with him.
Well, let's Google that too. Let's Google it and find out.
No, just Steve, this you're right. 50 isn't just nothing.
Let's see. What happened to Jamie Foxx? He's stable but not out of the woods yet.
wow.
If you've just read the post on his daughter's Instagram page, you might be wondering what happened to Jamie Foxx. Jamie Foxx was in the middle of filming in Atlanta for his Netflix movie Back in Action. He recruited former co-star Cameron Diaz after her hiatus from acting. When this project came along and she was... nothing has anything to do with what happened to him.
What happened, though?
I don't know.
Not big.
Let's see here. A medical complication yesterday. What the hell does that mean?
Yeah.
A medical complication? Does that mean he had to fill out a lot of paperwork at the doctor's office? It doesn't say what happened. Undisclosed medical emergency. Why would you not disclose your medical emergency? It had to be either drugs or self autoerotic asphyxiation. Autoerotic asphyxiation.
Um, he was in like a relationship with Katie Holmes for like 9 years or something, and never talked about it.
Who was?
Jamie Foxx.
Really?
So like, I'm not surprised that there's brevity in the statement.
Well, here's the thing about Buffalo 66. From now until the end of my life, every time I hear that movie, I'm gonna sing to myself, "Baby, do you want to come home with me? I've got Buffalo 66 on DVD." It's this band called Wet Leg. They have this song called Wet Dream, and it's fantastic.
It is fantastic.
It's absolutely fantastic. I was in your wet dream driving in my car. It's so good. Oh my God. Touching yourself, touching yourself, touching yourself, touching yourself. Buffalo 66 on DVD. Meow, meow, meow. Meow, meow, meow. That's a good band. I got another one of their tracks I added to the Chappie tracks. I haven't really listened to it much, but I think they might have multiple good songs, which isn't that common. P. Diddy and his gay sex parties are an open secret in Hollywood. I'm pretty sure he lives in New York.
P. Diddy?
Yeah, doesn't he?
I don't know.
I think he lives on the East Coast. Mr. Bobby. So what if P. Diddy does have gay sex parties? I mean, people who like to have gay sex parties need to have parties to go have gay sex at. He's just providing a public service.
So it's like I'm confused.
Is P. Diddy a homosexual? I don't know. Bobby thinks so. P. Diddy packing the fudge.
Oh, that's a little weird, Daftboy Klaus.
Is that true? Well, both of you think it to be the case. I'm hesitant to believe rumors, but rumors of that sort have a tendency to be true.
You know
Like,
what rumor I like? I've heard this before. I know it's like not funny in some ways, but neither is having like gay sex parties. But there's a rumor that Leah Michele from Glee, she's this like very hoity-toity actress. She's very like diva-ish, even though it's like
Leah Michele?
yeah, Leah Michele.
You got two first names.
Yeah. Um, it's they say that she can't read.
Really?
Yeah, there's a rumor that she can't read.
Well, they should make a dramatic episode about that,
They should.
where she says, I can't read!
That would make a lot of money.
I'm not naive. I didn't say that rumor was not true. I said, in fact, rumors of that sort have a tendency to be true.
Yeah, Leah Michele is known for being a bitch. She's known for it.
Was there a Glee curse?
It could be true because she was yeah, there was a Glee curse. You're right, definitely, Klaus.
Everybody in Glee was cursed to participate in a bad show.
It can be true because she never went to like school. She was like a theater kid from a young age.
How'd she
So
read the script? How could she read the script?
they said that there's a rumor. It's all rumors, right?
Okay.
There's a rumor that the director would feed her lines first. Like they did that a lot with Marilyn Monroe.
You know, it's quite possible though that this person is just SI-polar as fuck and can't remember anything. She can't memorize
Yeah,
anything.
it could be.
Maybe she can read just fine, but she can't memorize anything. But people assume that because she can't memorize anything and then she's having her lines fed that she
Yeah,
can't
that
read.
she can't read.
I bet
Yeah,
you it's that.
Yeah, that's probably it. It probably is because she never actually said, and like she put a statement out, and it's what it was like. I was always prepared for my scenes. She never actually said, "I can read."
Did she say, and I wrote this myself?
But that's the thing. They say that they like they give examples of like Instagram posts where she like talks in mostly emojis. It's funny. I think that I just think it's funny because she's such a like she's supposedly such a bitch. Like to have like a rumor about her is really funny and a funny one. It's a funny rumor because she's so like such a snob.
Well, I think I probably got it right. I bet she can't memorize.
Yeah, I think you're right. I have dyslexia. I used to.
Do you?
Oh, okay, like not diagnosed, but I used to have yeah, like with numbers especially, like math teachers would like circle my number and be like question mark because I would have the right answer, but I would never like.
Instead of 91, you put 19.
Mm-hmm. And technically, because it's on paper, like it's the wrong answer.
Right.
I had a lot of trouble with that, and my sentences too. Not only only like recently have I like consciously thought about like my speech patterns. I used to like say like sayings backwards, like sentences. I would put the thing that goes second first, and people would be like, "What are you talking about?"
Well, it's very NI of you to have, like, to deal with concepts holistically like that. That these are the pieces in the whole thing. It doesn't really matter which order they go. Or you also have Cutlet's disorder,
Right. I have Cutlet's disorder.
which causes you to refer to lunch meat as cutlets.
No.
But you know what, Rachel? I'm going to go ahead and say I've done thorough diagnosis, and the truth is there's nothing wrong with you.
Thanks.
Eazy-E died of AIDS. He had exposed Dr. Dre. I don't think Dr. Dre has AIDS. Just because Eazy-E died of AIDS and P. Diddy's gay doesn't mean that every rapper has a bunch of gay sex.
I could barely read too, Just Davis. I'm not trying to. I just think it's a funny rumor about a person who deserves a funny rumor.
Just Davis, what you say here, I will read a line of words in a book and forget what I just read and read it again, and the cycle continues. That probably only happens when you're making yourself read something you don't want to read. That happens to me when when I have to read something rather than I'm choosing to read it. I can't keep my attention on it. All of NWA is gay? Really? I don't think Ren was gay. So NWA is not all gay. Ice Cube's not gay, right? No, there's nothing wrong with him being gay, but I just refuse to believe that everybody in NWA is gay. Is P. Diddy gay?
Being
And so what? Diddy speaks out on his gay affair with Will Smith?
what?
What? This is a YouTube video. Let me see if I can find something more than a YouTube video to substantiate this.
Yeah. I will say that I like those Uber One commercials with
Yeah,
Diddy and
that's a good one. Is Diddy gay? Rumors about the hip hop mogul and producer's sexuality have been raging since he first burst onto the scene as part of Bad Boy Entertainment. He has several children from relationships with women. Here is Diddy gay. Here's what we know. People suspect he is thanks to his verse in a song by independent rapper Blood Orange. And here's Diddy's lyrics. Sometimes I ask myself, like, what is it going to take for me to not be afraid to be loved the way, like, I really want to be loved? But that I know how I really want to be loved. But I'm, like, scared to really, really feel that. It's like you want something, but you don't know if you can handle it. Maybe one day I'll get over my fears and I'll receive. I mean, I get why people think that's him being super gay, but he's close to insinuating it. You can look at the rap video. Even a so-called, while there are many positive things that hip-hop has contributed, his raging homophobia isn't one such thing. Because of that homophobia, even a so-called woke rapper like J. Cole isn't above using anti-gay slurs, and some critics suggest that homophobia in hip-hop is normalized. It's difficult for anyone to come out of the closet, including someone as powerful as Diddy. Number 3, 50 Cent has been calling Diddy gay for years. 50 Cent never saw a fight that he didn't like, and his beef with Diddy has been raging for many, many years. As recently as 2018, 50 had been calling Diddy gay at every turn, including on an appearance on The Breakfast Club. He doesn't even know what he says is like fruity, said 50 Cent. 4, Diddy also said that he battled depression, which further fueled the gay rumors. Why? Because gay people are depressed? 2019 was a crazy year. It was a great year for some of us, and for some of us, that shit was really, really, really hard, man. It was a hard year, he said in an Instagram video post. Needless to say, the video post sparked hundreds of comments from fans begging him to come out of the closet and encouraging him to live his truth. It's okay, get Diddy, to just come out and be a gay man. Love yourself enough to say, as you say in this video, bro, just come out. It's okay, because motherfuckers still going to listen to your music. Number 5, Wendy Williams has also said that Diddy was gay. Before Wendy Williams, who's Wendy Williams?
she's a talk show host.
Was a staple on television. She was a loudmouth radio disc jockey in New York City. During her reign as the queen of urban gossip, she frequently inferred that Diddy was gay. For what it's worth, Diddy's never confirmed or denied any rumors about his sexuality. Meanwhile, Diddy's ex Virginia claims he abused her and forced her to get abortions.
Oh my god.
why people are mocking Madonna's unfiltered photos. The real question is why people haven't been mercilessly mocking Madonna since the first day she made a public appearance. That's the real question. This is an interesting heading. Madonna has been fighting against ageism for decades. No, she's been fighting against aging
Yeah.
for decades. That's not a way to fight against ageism, to say, I don't age, I just get more and more plastic surgery and speak with a British accent. That is not, she's not fighting ageism, she's just being an idiot. She's one of the stupidest people in all of human history. That's hashtag Madonna under the bed trying to do like a virgin at 63. She's shot out if she don't get her old ass up. I don't know what that means, but exactly. Like, age gracefully, for fuck's sake. All that means is grow as a human being over time. You know, you lose some things as you get older that you had in youth, but what happens instead is that you have the benefit of having learned plenty of things, and you you have wisdom, right? Madonna doesn't seem to have any understanding that wisdom is a benefit of aging, and that she's got to be SI-polar. To people who get that much work done on themselves when they have no need to. I mean, it's like she has plenty of money. Why does she still? Why does she need to get plastic surgery? Nowadays, everybody want to talk. They got something to say, but nothing comes out when they move their lips. It's just a bunch of gibberish, and motherfuckers act like they want to talk. It's a little fast for me.
That was pretty damn good, though. I was impressed. That's not an easy bunch of lyrics right there.
It's true that not everybody gets to grow old, but it is true that everybody who grows old has a choice. They can understand themselves as an individual at a certain stage of life, stage of development, or they can see themselves as eternally their 22-year-old self that just keeps getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. It's horrible perspective, right? And it's inaccurate for people who have a brain. Madonna did not have one. She left it at a bus station one day, and when she'd come back to get it, some children had spilled some Slurpees on it, and there were flies on it, and she didn't even rinse it off. She just put it right back in her skull, and that's why she is how she is.
Oh, there's like, she's kind of in trouble for like possibly trafficking her kids that she like adopted.
I'm gonna go get some black children
Yeah.
from poor countries.
Yeah. So what happened was she like told like the children's family that she was like gonna give them like an education, and then like they would like she would come back in a year.
And she just kidnapped them.
Yeah.
What a fucking,
That's what they say. Like again.
what a reprehensible, horrible lady she is.
Yeah. I had no idea. I knew I didn't like her, but I didn't know. You don't know until you know, do you? And honestly, like, her music really isn't even that good.
She's just excrement on the sidewalk or front of your house, artistically.
Yeah,
You know, it's like
artistically, yeah.
you step in it occasionally when it comes on the radio, and you go, "Oh, I got my thumb on my shoe." I went outside for a cigarette. Can you hold down the fort and hit for a
Sure
second?
thing, yeah. Game Mafia. They all wear ascots?
Well, Bobby, I'm going to concede that you have good reason to believe that he's gay.
Yeah.
However, I'm going to point out that you did not have good enough reason to make it as an indisputable claim.
Um, I'm not gonna. I don't feel like scrolling right now. I'm stuck in my chair where I
I will
am.
scroll for you, my darling. I will scroll. You will be your scrolling hand.
But what if I do? I have to mute stuff and stuff.
Let's see if I can. Oh, I don't want to click that link. No. Ruben, don't be Bobby's errand boy with YouTube videos about PewDiePie being gay that we obviously don't care to watch. We don't care if he is a homo.
Yeah, we don't.
Think of it as homo as he wants. God.
I mean, that's kind of like, um, what's his name? John Travolta. Like, there's a bunch of rumors that he's gay too, and like, everyone wants him to come out. I think that like a masseuse said that, I don't know. There were rumors. Again, there are rumors.
Sometimes I think these stars develop a habit of just fucking everything.
Yeah, probably. There was a Britney and Madonna kiss. I don't remember Eminem and Dr. Dre kiss. Are you being serious?
Some of these celebrities are like dogs. They just hump anyone's leg.
Why? Why do celebrities? Okay, you were making that up. I totally bought that.
I ain't a scrolling kind of man. That's good. How did we go?
Hammer time. Oh, oh, oh. Can't touch this. If you're a star and you've banged hundreds of women, obviously you're likely to start trying all kinds of whack shit. Well, Jimmy Blaze, I think that Charlie Sheen is the best example of why not to bang hundreds of women. Now, I don't know if he banged hundreds of women. I'm sure he is close to that. Um, but he banged porn stars, so, and, or a bunch, I think they were involved anyway. I don't know who he got AIDS from, but you get AIDS. Yeah, I got the mic. You know. Ew, Karma's Pimp, is that true? Sheen banged dudes and children too? That's like terrible. What a terrible person. And I used to use the term like winning, like I liked hashtag winning, but I like never really thought he was winning. I was like, this dude is like fucking like off the rails. But no one could stop him. You can't stop someone that likes to do what they like to do. I guess until you get AIDS. Our cat has AIDS. Um, Apparently, cats who have AIDS, like they can feel it in their body, so it could be a reason why he doesn't like us petting him too much. He doesn't like us petting him really at all. But what did Ludovic say? I missed it, but I don't want to scroll. Tiger Blood livecast? He was unhinged. You're right, Jimmy Blaze. There's a remix of Charlie Sheen #winning. Who sings that? I don't know, Karma's Pimp. I don't know. Trouble seems to be doing fine. He just doesn't like to be touched. And I read that like cats with AIDS, they don't like to be touched because their bodies are very sensitive. But he could just not like to be touched too, honestly.
He's more or less sensitive depending on the moment, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like in bed when he's not facing me, he likes to be pet.
And when he's like asleep and comfortable, and you pet him, and he's like gets really kind of cuddly and stuff, it doesn't seem like he's experiencing any pain at all. So I'm not convinced that that explanation for his behavior is correct. It may be correct about cats with AIDS in general, but I'm not sure that's why he's prickly like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
Because he was a wild male cat
Yeah,
for such a long time. No, Trouble's not on meds. I've been digging that beautiful pain track from Eminem and Sia. I don't know that song.
Here's why.
I mean, I don't remember the Trump diss, but if you're gonna do a Trump diss song, it has to articulate all the right kinds of disses for all the right reasons. You're treading in very tricky water. I don't think Eminem may be qualified as a rapper, but I don't think he's qualified to articulate all the right reasons why you should diss Trump. There are lots of good reasons to, but it's important to validate the idea that a regular citizen upholding the critical American value of a citizen democracy run by the citizens is a laudable one. The problem is he took that laudable inclination and created people like Bobby who believe all kinds of crazy nonsense because Trump voiced those things in a demonstration of a complete detachment from reality, you know? So yeah, it's absolutely correct to diss Trump, but it's a dangerous project to undertake. You got to be so smart about how to do it.
Oh, thank you, Pete. I don't know what I'm thinking you, but thank you. Oh, thank you. I love you too.
His most recent songs that I've heard were probably Rap God and Kill Shot. Killshot's okay. Rap God's just like it's him doing a good job of being of what an ESTJ could never do as well, but is nevertheless making the same fundamental mistake, right? You don't want to sacrifice the music for demonstrating your skills ever, you know? I didn't hear the Trump diss, but it's just a demonstration of skills. That's not how you make good music. Eminem's got plenty of songs that make you cringe. Plenty of them. Like, you know, I'm a soldier. That song is like, okay, dude. I am cringing so hard on your behalf. He was totally forced by the agenda. Mr. Bobby, think about how things actually happen in the world. Eminem's filthy rich. He's not feeling pressured by an agenda to make a track he doesn't want to make. That's crazy. That's not true. Individual tracks succeed or fail on their merits, whether they're rap songs, country songs, rock and roll songs, or whatever. By whom? By whom? By specific people? I mean, remember, Mr. Bobby, I'm an HP like Eminem, and I diss Trump, and it's not because I was pressured at all. It's because I'm smart, and smart people recognize that you can't have an individual who thinks he's above the law be president of a civil democracy. No, you don't have to be brainwashed to not like Trump. After all, the job he was elected to do was represent all American citizens, and he definitely didn't care about half of them. So, all smart people diss Trump for very good reasons. And remember this critically important thing. Dissing Trump is not the same thing as disagreeing with core American values. I don't know if they're treasonous, that boy Klaus, but it is the case that every president has a responsibility to participate in the peaceful transfer of power rather than resist it. I mean, and also to consider facts outside of today, for example. People who think that Trump had the election stolen from him by Biden are ignoring the fact that if election stealing were so prevalent, why didn't they prevent him from getting elected in the first place? Why didn't they steal it for Hillary Clinton? Because they were thwarted somehow that time, but not this time, right? Except there's zero evidence to show the election was stolen at all. I've yet to have one person make a single convincing argument that there was election fraud to the detriment of Donald Trump. So the thing about that is everybody can be wrong and stuff, right? But if you have a president who's so delusional that he questions the validity of empirics every time they don't go his way, you cannot possibly validate that fucking moron and be correct about anything. Look, most people would say that I reflect and uphold the values that Trump pretends to care about. much more than the values that, say, Biden pretends to care about. And yet, I am among Trump's harshest critics because I recognize the fact that nobody should celebrate when their preferred retard of two retards gets elected. Nobody should celebrate when he then incomprehensibly tries to interfere with the peaceful transfer of power, something even Richard Nixon didn't do. Is DeSantis going to win the Republican nomination? I don't know. But I do know this. I will be actively campaigning for president for the 2028 election. I'm going to do it. I'm going to actually launch a presidential campaign as soon as this cycle's over, as soon as whoever gets in office in 2024, I'm going to start campaigning for 2028. Right. Well, when Trump's an idiotic but rich ESFP, he's just a colorful character on the American landscape. Some people like him, some people don't like him. Nobody feels especially strongly about him in any particular way. Smart people go, oh my God, that guy's an idiot. And, you know, people who like to see certain kinds of FE things, like to watch his show when them firing people and stuff or whatever.
I mean, that played out in real life.
And the thing is, prior to him running for president, none of it really mattered, right? Because the only person who believed Donald Trump was as big a deal as Donald Trump has turned out to be was Donald Trump.
Yeah, and it will always be that way. So like, I just have a problem. Like, I mean, I never liked him, but I started like questioning things 2 times when his hotels were, when he went bankrupt in the Jersey Shore in Atlantic City, and he has a golf course that goes along, connects the bridge that it's by, that the golf course is by, connects Long Island to like mainland New York, and it was never maintained. Like, it was like horrible, like a horrible golf course, like
Because Trump was always in the margins financially, you know?
Yes,
He was
right.
always overextended.
Yes, exactly.
Um,
How can you trust the person?
well, I mean, the thing is, I don't need my president to be a good businessman. I need him to be a good president.
Yeah.
So the fact that Trump was not a good businessman, to me, does not disqualify him from being a good president. The fact that he was an complete idiot does. Mr. Robbie, why in the world would you have an interest at all in what sexuality Dr. Dre is? It's like, why would you hope the rumors are wrong? There's one good reason to hope the rumors about Dre is wrong, because he's married and has kids. So obviously you'd hope that he's not a closet homosexual, because then that's unhealthy family or something, right?
Mommy and Daddy love you.
Correct, that boy Klaus. Correct on all 4 of those counts. But remember, attaining good outcomes as the president is not how we evaluate whether a president was a good president or not. Not how we evaluate it correctly. Oh, his wife divorced him. He took a bunch of money. Well, his daughter's going to USC. I know that. And he put up and then hastily took down a horribly ill-advised Twitter post when his daughter got accepted to USC. It was around the time when, remember that scandal when the celebrities got their kids into colleges, blah, 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 and USC was at the center point in all those investigations.
No way.
Yeah, for the, it was some minor sport like crew or something, right? And the coach of that sport, they'd fabricate some crew experience for these celebrity kids, and then the coach of that sport would recruit them for the team. And that's how they'd get in sometimes, you know?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Well, the thing is, it mattered. Mr. Bobby, you are correct that a factor like respect matters in particular instances. So did it matter that Putin respected the strengths of Trump? Yes, that's why he didn't invade Ukraine on Trump's watch. But note, those kind of calculations, they have diminishing returns. In other words, they're particularist. You made a right decision in one instance. Blind squirrels get nuts. Broken clocks are right twice a day. We can always find instances where idiots stumble into making good decisions, or even make good decisions for the right reasons. That's not how we can evaluate whether a president was a good president or not. We have to evaluate whether they understood their job, whether they represented all Americans, whether they reinforced and strengthened the institutions and habits of democracy or undermined them. We should also evaluate things like whether or not they committed cold-blooded murder, which Trump did in office. Obama did too. But Obama committed a different kind of murder. Trump committed murder in the first degree. He premeditated the execution of an Iranian general on Iraqi soil. Even though we're not at war with Iran, and even if we were, we would not be able to legally assassinate him on Iraqi soil. They probably all bang each other and make more money in a year than a working person makes in their whole life for no good reason. Who's they? Is movie stars?
Movie stars.
Mr. Bobby, by the way, I believe it was you who recommended Molly's Game. And I started watching it today, and Rachel watched some of it with me too. Yeah. And oh my God, that movie is so good.
It is good.
The passionate speech that her lawyer makes, dealing with the Deputy Attorney General. It's a movie about poker. The scene where the lawyer is passionately arguing on her behalf and articulating a litany of very reasonable and correct complaints about unjust protocols of the prosecutors, it brought me to tears. It was so compelling. And I love how T.I. that chick is in this movie. I don't think in real life, Molly, whatever her last name is, I don't think in real life that person was a T.I. user. I think she was a T.E. dom. But the way the movie's written, her T.I. argumentation is impeccable. It is so satisfying to watch. No, not Molly Chastain. What's the lady's last name? Molly Bloom. Molly Bloom. Not Ringwald either. I'm not accusing anybody of being a homophobe, Mr. Bobby. I'm asking you, hey, I've got an idea. Why don't, instead of indulging in your indignation again, why don't you enjoy the pleasantness of something pleasant? Like talking about Molly Bloom. Boy, that is a real credit to T.I., that movie. It does T.I. justice, and it does justice. It has the right perspective on things. It argues against plea bargaining in ways that are powerful and convincing. It is a beautiful piece of work regarding the American legal system.
Did you finish it?
No, that one scene with the lawyer giving that speech brought me to tears, and I stopped it. I had to go outside and smoke a cigarette.
Oh, no way. I was totally
You missed that scene. You were out of the room. But I stopped it right there, so we'll go back and I'll show it to you.
Please.
He does that black lawyer after being all TE for most of it. He whips out his TI in the room and he fucking hammers him. It's fantastic. It's like one of my fantasy speeches that I have in my head when I'm spewing piaos in court in my pretend time as a defendant or something. You know? I used to pretend I'd been arrested for things, and I don't do so much anymore. And I'd have passionate speeches in my head that I'd be delivering to my pretend court. No, I didn't snort a cigarette. I smoked it. But the only thing that was unusual was I smoked it with my butthole, which I had not done before. But it turns out works great.
That's so great.
Just like you can put pills in your butt and they work just fine, so too can you smoke a cigarette with your butt and it works just fine. Should have just let them fall, Eric. What, my pants? Speaking of letting things fall, I have chosen to move my ashtray from the railing out there to the ground in front of the railing on the rocks, because I don't like the way it looks. It gets all yucky looking with all full of cigarettes. But even though it's just on the ground, the last cigarette I went and had, I finally, dropping it into the ashtray on the ground, I made it into the ashtray. I shit you not, the previous at least 4 cigarettes I tried to drop into that ashtray, I missed. Probably as many as 5 or 8. It's impressive you can create that sort of negative pressure with your butthole. Actually, I don't need to create any negative pressure. My lungs connect in both directions. So I can breathe in through here, or I can breathe in through there. And if I practice, sometimes I can even breathe in through my penis hole.
Wow. I mean, like, I've always loved your penis, but this is just, like, really great information.
Well, I mean, how do you think it doesn't lose its breath when I'm humping you? It's because it has gills, too. Yeah. It breathes the oxygen right out of your vagina fluid.
Wow.
You can buy a fancy butt holder. That's called my underwear, Miss Fortune. No, what I do is I try to drop it into the ashtray, I miss, and then I bend over and pick it up and put it in there. It's because I'm tall, in part. So the ashtray on the ground is far away from me. But it's also because I'm a terrible shot. I self-identify as a homophobophobe. I'm terrified of homophobes. Really? Well, Mr. Bobby, you get credit for turning me on to something really fantastic. That movie thrills me.
He was, Mr. Bobby, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Aaron Sorkin is behind the newsroom from on HBO. It was on HBO. It was pretty good. It was like pretty good.
Listen, if you're scared of Phoebe Rubin, then you're a Phoebe-phobe. You're not a phobophobe. A phobophobe is somebody who's scared of being scared. A phobophobe is someone who's scared of being scared of being scared.
Yeah, that was a good TV show. I like Aaron Sorkin's work. Was he behind that movie about Facebook?
Oh,
Social Network.
that was Justin Timberlake.
Justin Timberlake made it?
How was that not movie?
Yeah, he was in that movie.
Okay, so listen, a bobophobe is somebody who's afraid of Boba Fett. And there might be a couple of those around here. A globophobe is a person who's afraid of globes.
I like the Social Network.
Oh, you saw it?
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen it.
Oh.
Well, he's probably sleeping. Because in India, it's a totally different time than it is here. Who knows what time it is? It changes constantly in India.
Social Network ends with a Beatles song.
Which one?
Baby, You're a Rich Man.
Oh, it's a good one to end with.
Isn't it? Very appropriate.
You know what I was surprised to learn is that in India, every single house has its own time zone.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So you could be at your brother's house and like your mom wants you to come home and she could be like, you're like 2 hours late.
Well, no, because they adjust by milliseconds. So, like, if you're across the street, you're 1 millisecond later or earlier.
It's like kind of time travel-y.
Well, they just try to be really precise in India about how, you know, it's a different time a little bit further east or west. Have you seen that Yorgos Lanthimos film, The Lobster? Yorgos Lanthimos? Is that a real name? Yorgos Lanthimos.
Oh, I've heard of The Lobster.
I've not heard of The Lobster, but I have heard of lobsters.
You have?
Yeah,
What have you heard about them?
that Rachel likes to eat them.
I do.
I gotta watch Dogtooth and The Lobster. The Lobster's all about how Jordan Peterson has informed us regarding human condition by his study of lobsters.
No, really. How are you unnerved, Ruben? Because I don't want to see something that makes me unnerved. No offense.
If anything includes the adjective disturbing in its description, we don't want to watch it. It's a good couples movie, believe me.
Why is it? I want to know why it's a good couples movie.
Hippopotamophobia should be fear of hippopotamuses.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
What is it? I'm fear of losing words. I lose my words all the time. Think you're good, Rachel? At what? I'm not sure what you're talking about, Lakeisha.
Shia LaBeouf phobia is fear of Shia LaBeouf. I have a little bit of that.
I can understand.
Well, you got to put one of them down there. Like I put my beer over there. You got to decide which one you want to put on the table.
Beer on the table.
Rachel, you go shopping often?
Yes. Not to the store. I would when we were in Arcadia. I like to walk around in malls. I'm kind of a mall rat. Um, but I changed because the shirt that I was wearing, the sleeves were way too big on me, and the shirt was moving on me too much. I was uncomfortable. But I appreciate the comment. But yes, I do go shopping.
Here's the lobster synopsis. In a dystopian society, single people must enter into a romantic relationship within a strict time limit of 45 days or be transformed into an animal of their choice.
That's weird.
Like when they turn 18 or something, or what? Oh, 40 plus. Go to a resort to be matched with a partner. If they aren't matched with anybody, a machine will turn them into an animal. Why would anybody choose to be turned into a lobster? If you're going to choose to be turned into an animal, you'd choose to be turned into probably a giraffe, because then you could reach everything on high shelves. And you'd have great eyelashes.
Yes.
Let's say you're into pinching. Okay. Granted, if you really are into pinching, fine. Then maybe a lobster.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. I'm interested. It sounds like an interesting plot. Yeah. The lobster doesn't sound exactly. But I remember reading about it or hearing about it when it came out, and I was interested. So maybe that could be one that we'd look into. I don't know if it's unnerving though. I'm not sure.
Well, he didn't mean unnerving. He meant surreal.
Oh, surreal.
That's the word you're looking for, Ruben. Is surreal. They can match you up with an animal with a ton of nipples or something. Which animal has the most nipples? It's the Guatemalan nipple-laden sloth. It's got 142 nipples, and interestingly, never has more than one baby at a time. The rest of them are just for decoration. The second half had a lot of Marxism with people living out in the woods. Oh, well, no thanks. As soon as something starts getting Marxist or TI polar at all in its messaging, I tend to turn it off. It's like, okay, you're idiot preaching at me that your idiocy is a good thing is not going to fly. It reminded me of Jean-Luc Godard's Weekend from the 60s, which is way better if you can handle subtitles. I can handle subtitles. Postmodernist. That just means whatever. It's very post.
Is that a collie of postmodernist, or what is postmodernist?
I mean, people have a variety of different definitions to it, but the engine under postmodernism is that the pursuit in the modernist era to find the answers to things, the correct things, to be technologically progressive and move forward in terms of what we know and how we understand things, that those modalities of objective knowing are just paradigms of oppression. Or, in the most generous interpretation of postmodernism, are just paradigms that are equally subjective and equally subject to reinterpretation as actually subjective things. It's a denial of finality in terms of what's determinate about things. You will hear in postmodernist screeds that logical consistency itself is a colonial paradigm and fundamentally oppressive. Of course, that's TI polar in a nutshell. They don't get that everything they're saying is affirm my position as exclusively correct. They're that dumb. Common tin racks have the most nipples, 36 of them. Why do they need 36 nipples? Do they have that many babies? I would expect possums to have a lot of nipples because they carry a bunch of babies on their backs. I'm sorry, I'm not going to watch a film by some Godard. Godard's his last name, Eric. You mean he's not just Godarded? That's actually his last name? Look, just watch 2 Vim Vendors films and call me in the morning. If that hasn't gotten you over your love of art films, I don't know what will. Art films. A way to make your boring movie sound like it's doing something. It's like, hey, art filmmakers, your number one job is to entertain me. These long pauses while you two talk about whether or not, love is real in the world or something. No. I've never actually seen a Vim Vendors film, CJ. I just picked that name out because it sounds funny. Vim Vendors is a funny name, just like Boutros Ghali is a funny name. So if you're going to make a joke about a UN Secretary General, it should be about Boutros Ghali. Similarly, if you're going to make a joke about art films, it should be about Vim Vendors. Because it's like, I don't mind purchasing things from vendors, but I don't even know what Vim is. I'm going to get a cigarette. And then I'm going to make your day by coming out here and smoking. I have a cigarette already. I just have to get my drink. Oh no! Everything fell over. What happened? Oh. Everything fell over. Okay, don't worry. I'm going to save the day. You can stop panicking. If you're feeling motion sick because the phone's moving around, don't worry. It's going to come to an end very soon. We're going to stabilize this. Thank you to whoever it was who gave me $5. Jess Davis. Thank you, Jess Davis. I don't think I said it at the time. You're a gentleman, a scholar, and a giver of $5. I guess I should talk into the microphone. Thank you, Jess Davis, for giving us $5. Okay, now I just need to put this over here, and then go like this. Yeah. And I'm free. I'm free at last. Free from the shackles Tangled like Goodyear mic cable. Okay, so I should tilt this down a little bit more so you see more of me instead of just the tip of my head. There. So, what was I talking about? Starlight, star bright, first star I see tonight. I wish I may, I wish I might. How's the wish I make tonight? Well, says the wish granting people, that's not going to be possible, Eric, because what you are wishing upon is clearly a planet. What planet is it? I don't know. What do I look like, an astrologer? One of the planets in our solar system. Venus, maybe. Probably Venus. But it's the earliest arrival in the night sky. It's the only celestial body I can see right now. Let's see if you can see it too. Okay, so I guess you can't really see it, but there it is. Oh, you can see it now. Look. You can see it. And that's Venus. Or some other planet. It's the only star I can see in the sky. I can't see the moon anywhere. So if it's arriving that early and visible and bright, that's no moon. That's no star. That's a planet. Also, you'll note the lack of twinkle. Stars tend to twinkle more than planets do, which is why that song isn't called Twinkle Twinkle Little Planet. It's also not called Twinkle Twinkle Little Black Hole, because black holes are also not especially good at twinkling. Okay, have you viewed the planet enough now? Have you gotten all the looking at it that you wanted to get in? If not, get in your last couple of looks, because I'm going to move the camera now. Okay, okay, Bobby, look at it for 5 seconds longer, but seriously, that's enough. No, I know you love the sight of planets. You've always loved that. But there's more to life than just looking at planets in the night sky, Bobby. And it's about time you grow up and accept that reality. And your phone needs to go back to regular. There. Okay, don't leave the beer over there. That's not a good place to leave it. On the wall outside. You should go over here and drink it on the patio. I mean the deck. It's not really a patio, it's a deck. Okay. I wish I were deckward bound. Decks where I stand and smoke. Decks, where I drink my coke. Decks, where my love lies waiting silently for me. It's a good smoking deck. You can smoke here. There's a bucket of water over there to throw the butt away in. Once it gets dark, I could just pee off the thing here and nobody will be able to see me. But it gets really dark out here. So much so that one night I was out here smoking, had a beer like this and reached for it, couldn't see it, knocked it over onto the hill down here. And then a couple of days later I had to scurry down there and fetch it. Because I don't want trash on my hill, you know. That's how dark it gets. So dark that I couldn't even see my own bear standing right next to it. I'm assuming it must not have been a moony night. Okay, now let's put this cigarette butt here in one of 4 distinct ashtrays I have. I now have one outside the kitchen. I have one here, this bucket. I have a coffee can in the front. And I have a old kitty litter jug I filled up half with water and poked a cigarette-sized hole in the top of the lid. I just dropped them into the water there. I got that in the back. So I've got all 4 smoking locations are now endowed with an ashtray. The one by the kitchen, I used an empty wine bottle. That's a great ashtray because once it fills up, you just throw the whole thing away and get another wine bottle and replace it. I cast both bottles of wine today making coq au vin, which is to say I poured the rest of the cooking wine, red wine, and the rest of the cooking wine, white wine, into the crock pot, cut up some onions and garlic, and put some chicken breast in there, and let it crock pot for at least 5 or 6 hours. It was in there for a long time. And when it was done, I made rice, and we had coq au vin over rice, and it was delicious. And I said, you know what, Rachel? Talk as much shit about as we want about your mom, but that crock pot was a very useful gift. And a very good gift for us, because we like to have home-cooked food sometimes. We don't always want to microwave something. But neither of us really likes to cook. Not cook things that take a lot of effort and in and out of the kitchen and tending to things. You know, I'll get distracted, something will get burned, whatever. Okay, what I'm going to do now is let you look at something interesting while I go to the bathroom. And here's the interesting thing I have selected for you to look at. There. Isn't that nice? There. You can look at that while I'm gone. And you can listen to Mindy telling you about things. Sit up straight, brother. There. Oh no, if I that. Maybe you need to sit here so you can talk to the people while I'm gone. Okay. There, maybe I'll keep you entertained while I'm gone. I sure will. So this bird lamp is one of the things I brought with me from Arcadia. I liked this lamp, so we decided to keep it. But I will share with you additionally a lamp I recently found in the attic. It's still not at. Oh, is that right? Yeah, I guess that's right. Okay, so here's a lamp I found recently in the attic. Oh my gosh, what's up with this crazy red lamp?
I know.
Let me show you what it looks like with it not turned on. It's an electric lamp. It's got this red glass around the light bulb. So it makes me feel like, when I have it on, that I'm in some seedy establishment. There. Doesn't that look a lot more seedy now? You know, I kind of wish you played with me more, but at least I have 2 arms. Yeah, I'm sorry it happened to Tiffany. Sorry's not going to cut it. You were responsible for her, and she lost an entire arm. I mean, look, sometimes that happens. Sometimes people's arms fall off. I can't be responsible for every time someone's arm falls off. It doesn't sometimes happen, okay? It's the first time I ever heard of it happening. It happened on your watch. Okay, all right, I'll grow a new arm for her in a lab. and then attach it with duct tape. Still not good enough. Okay, fine, I'll sew it on. Okay, you better.
You did try to look for it in the snow.
I did. I was unable to find it.
It's like such a mystery. That's that's like a paranormal caught on camera.
Well, not that much of a mystery because it was a huge snowdrift and it was an arm no bigger than this. And it fell into the snow and I tried to dig in to get it.
No, I mean it falling off. Like,
Oh, falling off.
yeah.
I think it's because it was so cold out.
Cold. Yeah.
And the plastic got brittle, and it didn't even occur to me that might be a problem until after her arm broke off. But the good news is, Tiffany does seem to be adjusting well. Now, I don't really love lamp. I do kind of like that lamp, but I like that lamp a lot. Well, I'm not satisfied with the current lighting situation in here. I want there to be not just a table here in the middle and a table in front of us. I want there to be a table over here that I can put another lamp like that. That bird lamp.
We should definitely go search for that.
Yeah, we need to find a little table stand thing to put a lamp on, you know. I'm very much high. I took a 1.5 week tolerance break and it feels nice. And I am very much jealous. Because at this point, I don't know if I can smoke enough bong rips to get high.
Yeah.
We've been smoking so much of this weed. It's good smoking weed, but if you constantly smoke constant weed constantly, then you don't really get very high. The problem I have with P. Diddy is that his name is really Puff Daddy. If your name's Puff Daddy, you can't just one day go, actually, now it's P. Diddy. Just keep your same name.
Kids have that same problem, right?
Right. It's your artist name. It's not like it's your birth name, right? If your birth name is if your parents have named you and you're a boy, they named you Impotence. Impotent Weakness Smith. Then of course change your name. That's fine. Who would want to be named Impotent Weakness Smith? Nobody. But if you've chosen an artist name and you've produced under that name, and if you want to do a different project entirely, fine. Like, you know, be like George Harrison and start the Traveling Wilburys.
Mm.
But you can't just change Puff Daddy to P. Diddy. It's like, you're basically saying, oops, sorry, I chose a bad name.
Yeah, like he filled out a form and he crossed out P. Diddy. It's like,
And how in the world is P. Diddy better than Puff Daddy? They're both terrible. You know?
yeah.
Straight up now, tell me, do you want to love me forever? Oh, oh, oh. Are you just having fun? Bum, 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 bum. Do you love me? Do you love me?
Do you love me?
Paula Abdul does get the title of most successful transition from Laker girl into celebrity. I can't think of any other Laker girls who have managed to become a celebrity in something other than being a Laker girl. Not that that's really a celebrity, but you know. But
Yeah,
but Paula Abdul pulled it off.
she did.
Of course, that woman is such a train wreck. Oh my God. And you know, Paula Abdul likes to lie about experiencing traumas.
Really?
Yeah, like for example, she lies this about being in a plane crash. Let's Google it.
Yeah.
Paula Abdul plane crash lies. The truth about the plane crash Paula Abdul claims she was in. For years, Abdul has claimed she was compelled to take a few years off in order to recover from trauma and injuries she supposedly suffered in a plane crash. However, no record of any such plane crash exists, and her telling of the events surrounding the supposed events has changed over the years. She claims that she was flying from St. Louis to Denver when the plane caught fire and was forced to land in an Iowa field. However, the supposed landing site would have been out of the way north for the purported flight path between those two cities. I didn't have my seatbelt on and I hit my head on the top of the plane, and that went on to I withstood 15 cervical spinal surgeries and have had to take 7 years off. In addition to the frequent changes in the narrative and other aspects of the story that don't add up, there's the fact that there's absolutely no record of this plane crash, no news stories from the time of the supposed crash event, and no National Transportation Safety Board records exist of any plane crash in that area within that time frame. In an interview with Yahoo, she explained she didn't want to talk about the plane crash much because it took her years to build her career. I was so afraid of being counted out and looked at as damaged goods. Pointing out that she actually was because she had to take so many years off. As for how all of this managed to escape the notice of the press and the feds, Abdul has claimed that she was able to use her celebrity status to keep the story under wraps. National Transportation Safety Board records don't get disappeared because Paula Abdul asks for that to happen. I mean, plane crashes are not something that you can keep private.
No.
As for those who don't believe her, Abdul simply stated that she doesn't care what other people have to say. Well, what if people care about what you have to say, but you're lying?
Yeah.
So anyway, Paula Abdul's a prima donna liar. And one of those horrible celebrities who's like, I'm a complete baby, demanding, expecting everyone to worship me because I'm Paula Abdul. That's what I think about her. The fact that Jamie Foxx doesn't explain anything about why he's in the hospital suggests to me that he's in the hospital for some reason that he doesn't want to make public. Now, granted, Rachel's pointed out that he has a long history of being intensely private, regardless of whether there's a need. But nevertheless, usually nobody has a reason to hide the fact that they're like oh, my appendix got inflamed and was about to burst and I had to get it taken out.
Yeah.
You know, people just say that shit. They just say it because there's no reason to hide it. So if you're hiding what's wrong with you and you're in the hospital, it's probably not going to make you look good. My guess is either drugs or alcohol or sex stuff. Something happened during sex stuff, like autoerotic asphyxiation or, you know, his BDSM stuff. There was a mistake in the equipment or something, you know. Like a beer bottle broke inside of his ass. That would be something that they like. We just respect our privacy. He's just experiencing medical complications. That's what they said. Medical complications. See, that normally would be used if you've had surgery already and there are complications with the surgery.
Right.
But the way they were using it made it sound like they just picked a word hoping that it didn't mean anything.
Mm-hmm. That people wouldn't question it too.
Or that it wouldn't convey any information for people to intuit anything from, primarily, you know? Is that it just would give no information that anybody could use to deduce anything.
And it worked. We don't know.
Well, I mean, but we have done some inferential work suggesting that his privacy about this matter and the way that they've avoided giving any information is suggestive of the fact that it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
But that, I guess, is the best you can do if you're trying to hide something that's actually embarrassing. Plus, apparently, it sounds like from the article that his daughter wrote that post, not a PR person.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe it's just his plaque psoriasis acting up, his eczema.
It could be, you know?
Yeah.
He could be very...
Very
quiet.
sensitive about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It could be he had to go to the hospital to get a massive dose of Cialis because he had a big date coming up. Hey, Boba Fett's here.
Hey, Boba Fett.
Earlier we were talking about bobaphobes, people who are afraid of you. And we also discussed phobophobes, phoebophobes, and globophobes, people who are afraid of globes. I think that's about it. Robophobes, people who are afraid of robots. Snow globophobes, people who are afraid of snow globes. So just catching you up on what we discussed. I don't want you to feel like you're lost because you missed the first part of the story. Anyway, we're not talking about that anymore. Because we all are suffering from talking about phobia. So we can't talk about it anymore.
Phobia.
Talking about phobia. That's the fear of talking about phobias.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
We learned that in the stream, too.
Well, we just learned it right now.
Oh, we just learned it right now.
Yeah, phobophobia is fear of fears. Talking about phobia is fear of talking about phobias.
My bad.
Slight difference. It's not just you. A lot of even clinicians misdiagnose one for the other. So you're in good company. What I have is depressing movie-phobia. I am afraid of depressing movies. I am afraid to be ambushed by like a rape scene or something.
Oh God, I can't watch those kind of movies either, cause like that stuff sticks with me.
Yeah, me too. Like, I remember when I lived in Laverne, I was watching this PBS show called Home Fires, and it ambushed me with a domestic violence scene out of nowhere, and I was so angry at that character every day I woke up for weeks. I just kept telling myself, Eric, it's not real. It's not even based on a true story. It's entirely fictional. And that woman is just an actress, and that man did not really hit her, etc. But, yeah, so I try to be careful not to see anything too dark, because as Rachel said, it sticks with me. Bugs me. And there are some dark scenes from movies that I saw 30 years ago that I still remember and feel like, you know, watching Platoon when it first came out. I guess I was like 16 or something, or 15.
Wow.
Was traumatic
That's
and scarred me for a long time. Like, it really punched me in my polar, you know?
yeah.
Seeing these horrible things and feeling the scope of humans' awfulness was just wrecked me.
So much. Was that Kubrick?
I think so. If you've not seen it, don't.
I'm not going to, especially after you saw it and it affected you. There's no way I'm seeing it.
General sensitivity. Yeah, well, one imagines, I don't know if it's true or not, but one imagines that people with, oh, it was Oliver Stone.
Oh, it was Oliver Stone. Wait. Okay.
Was it because the dude was a communist? Hey, people. Um, what? Have you guys seen Queen's Gambit, the show? It's really good. Really good.
It is really good.
You should see it. Watch the whole first season. It goes by in a heartbeat.
Yeah, it does.
Apparently, I think, maybe, I don't know this for sure, there's a second season of it. But at the end of the first season, I was just like, that is so complete and done, and the whole story arc, it feels so perfectly completed. I don't know if making a second season was a good idea. But you know what? I had my doubts about Russian Doll. And that second season, they pulled it off.
It was really good, yeah.
Yeah, they totally pulled it off. I had uncertainties about the second season of Only Murders in the Building.
Oh, yeah, me too.
And it was very good. It wasn't quite as good as the first season, I don't think, but nevertheless, very good.
Yeah, so good, yeah.
Now, they are in fact coming out with a third and final season of Only Murders in the Building. Do you think that's a good idea? I'm going to be glad that it's out because I like Steve Martin, Martin Short,
And Selena Gomez.
and Selena Gomez. I think they've got great chemistry together, the three of them.
Yeah, me too.
But, I mean, the concept, somebody had a good idea for a one season long show, which completed in season 1. The thing is, it's like Taken. Taken, as soon as you get past Taken 1, it becomes increasingly absurd. Because why does this girl keep getting taken?
Yeah.
And why does she never learn to stop getting taken? Well, same thing with Only Murders in the Building. When a murder happens in the building, they make a podcast and solve the crime and everything. That's the whole concept of the show, the whole nutshell, the elevator nutshell of what the season is going to be, etc. Blah. They didn't have any plan for season two going into season one. They didn't have a cliffhanger at the end of season one to carry us over into season two or anything. But it was so popular that Hulu's like, well, let's do another season. Well, yeah, I'll just make it like this, but another murder. And now they're doing a third season? So we'll see how that goes. And since the title is Only Murders in the Building, the third season, presumably, is also going to have to be about a murder in the same building that there were murders in season one and two. I was so pleasantly surprised by how well Selena Gomez did in that show.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had not ever thought of her as an actress prior to that, you know. I'd always just thought of her as a singer.
She's actually an actress first.
Really?
Yeah, she's a Disney kid.
Oh. Well, learn something new every day. I assumed
Disney or Nick?
that she started with her singing career. But if she was on those Disney shows when Delilah was watching as a little girl, I might have seen some of them, but I might not have recognized her
Yeah.
as the same person. It's like what who says this? It's like what Cami9 says. Murders in the Building is so wholesome. It is. It's wholesome and endearing, and it does good work with generational distinctions. Like, it does a good job playing with the difference between old people who grew up in a pre-digital age and millennials. Or is Selena Gomez a millennial?
Let me check.
Um, but you know, like, there's a lot of rich material to work with there, because this moment in history where you've got older population that it aren't digital natives and younger population that is a one-time thing. It'll never happen again, right? Because from this point forward, everyone will always be a digital native.
She is a millennial.
Yeah. So I'm able to personally resonate with it in a particular fashion because I see that kind of different attitude towards technology between me and Delilah, or even to a certain extent between me and Rachel. When I watch Delilah text, I cannot conceive how anybody can type at that fast
Yeah.
with just two thumbs.
Yeah.
I type like this on my phone.
I make mistakes all the time.
God, I hate using my phone. That's what it boils down to. I hate using my phone for anything other than this. Let's bring back beauty. Okay. I'm bringing beauty back.
I'm bringing beauty back.
I've got mascara inside of this sack. I've got some rouge and blush and stuff like that.
I like that. That was good.
Thanks. That's my makeup themed version of Justin Timberlake's Sexy Back. Speaking of back, we'll be right back after this important message from our sponsor, Black Cats Corporation. Hi, I'm host. I found.
I love that picture of Selena Gomez because I wanted to know what her hair looked like.
And I went all the way to pictures of stuff from season 3 of Murders in the Building.
So you saw a spoiler?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, don't tell me that.
I'm not going to. I wouldn't want to spoil it.
Black people can be racist, but only against themselves.
That's true.
I'm all about this these days. You've probably seen me go in on about it on a stream a bit. You're all about what? This. An indefinite article? You're all about it. Uh-oh, my internet started playing on again, off again.
No.
So if it persists playing on again, off again, well, it's good to be all about that bass, but it's not good to be all about the song, I'm all about that bass. It's not a good song.
No.
It makes me want to throw rotten fruit at its singer. I'll stick with tomatoes. Those won't hurt so much when they splatter all over her face. Well, my music taste is perfect. No, my music taste is perfect, though not always perfect right away. But give me some time; I'll be correct about it, everything. And that song success. No, if it just had good lyrics, I wouldn't like it. It's actually a very catchy tune, very intuitive tune. It's got cool kind of electronic instrumentation in it. And it's not just like a rap, it's a song. It's got a melodic identity that's very clear and distinct. It's got a distinct melodic identity for the verse and for the chorus. And additionally, it's incredibly clever. Well, that's good. You don't want singers who are prioritizing. You don't want singers who are prioritizing displaying their chops over being, executing the melody cleanly and letting the melody do its own work. So anyway, I'm going to end the stream because my internet keeps kicking out and dropping back in again for some reason. The music got to reset it or something. Anyway, the most important takeaway from this video is if you disagree with me about a given song, that means you're wrong about that song. The end. I love you all, even though you're wrong about music. And I wish you all the best in your endeavors for the rest of this evening.